Our world is just so noisy all the time. It's easy to think of silence as, well, just emptiness, an absence of sound. But what if that's not true at all? What if silence is its own language, a really rich one that can lead us to a deeper way of being? So let's dive in and decode the powerful language of stillness. Haven't we all been there? I mean, you pick your words so carefully. You lay out your argument perfectly, but there's still this gap, a feeling that what you're really trying to say just isn't getting through. And man, is that frustrating, right? It's such a common human experience. But here's a thought. What if the deepest connection, the most real understanding we can have with other people and even with ourselves, actually happens in that space beyond the words? To really get this, let's think about all those times in our own lives when words they just don't cut it. They fall completely short. Think about trying to comfort a friend who's going through a terrible loss. We rack our brains trying to find the right thing to say, but honestly, nothing ever feels adequate. In those moments, just being there, sitting with them in a shared, compassionate silence, that communicates so much more warmth and support than any sentence ever could. Or picture this, you're standing on a mountaintop, looking at a sunset that just blows your mind. Or maybe you're looking up at a sky jam-packed with stars. How could you ever describe that feeling? Any word you try to use just feels tiny and weak in comparison. The only thing that makes sense is the silence of pure awe. And this is so true in our closest relationships, right? You could be with a partner or a best friend, and sometimes the most meaningful conversations happen without a single word. It's that look across a crowded room that just says, "Yep, I see it too, I'm with you." The understanding is just there. It echoes in the quiet between you. Okay, so if silence is this powerful in these big, profound moments, how can we start to use it on purpose in our everyday lives? Well, that brings us to a really practical skill, the art of true listening. So let's totally rethink what active listening means. For most of us, it just means you're not interrupting, you're waiting for your turn to talk. But real active listening, that isn't passive at all. It's about consciously, actively creating a silent space where the other person feels totally safe to be heard. See, you're not just processing the words they're saying. You're using that quiet space to absorb everything else, the tiny changes in their voice, the way they're holding themselves, the feelings they aren't even putting into words. It's in that focused silence that you can actually connect with them on a much deeper level. But here's the thing. Our relationship with silence isn't the same everywhere you go. Our comfort level with it and how we use it is really shaped by the culture we're from. For example, in a lot of Western cultures, a pause in a conversation can feel super awkward. We get this urge to just fill it up with noise, right? We might even think the other person is bored or disagrees with us. But in many Eastern and indigenous cultures, it's the total opposite. Silence can be a huge sign of respect. It's a space for thinking things over, for giving real weight to your words before you say them. It just goes to show you that our feelings about silence aren't set in stone. They're something we learn. All right, this is where things get really interesting. What if silence isn't just a tool for communication? What if it's something way more profound, like a direct line into our own consciousness? Instead of thinking of silence as the absence of sound, let's try flipping that. Let's think of it as the presence of awareness. It's like a language that just bypasses all the mental chatter and speaks straight to that deeper intuitive part of who we are. And get this, some studies even show that silence can help our brains grow new cells in the hippocampus, which is tied to memory and emotion. It literally helps us grow. It really boils down to quieting two different kinds of noise. First, there's the noise of the world around us. But just as important, there's that constant, nonstop chatter inside our own heads. When we can let both of those settle down, something else has a chance to come through. It's not a thought you force, but a genuine insight that just kind of bubbles up from the quiet. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But the real question is, how do we actually do this? How do we take this cool idea and make it a real part of our lives? Well, it can start with something so simple. Just 5 minutes, that's it. This isn't some huge, complicated thing. It's just making an intentional choice to connect with yourself. And you can start with a tiny commitment that feels totally doable. The actual practice is super straightforward. Find a place where you won't be interrupted, set a timer, and for those 5 minutes, your only job is just to be. Now, thoughts are definitely going to pop up. That's what minds do. The trick isn't to fight them, but to just notice them. Kind of like watching clouds float by in the sky. You see them, but you don't have to get on board and fly away with them. Just watch. So, at the end of the day, remember this. Silence isn't empty. It's actually full of potential. Potential for better understanding, for deeper connection, and for real insight. And that leaves me with a final question for you to think about. How do you, personally, experience silence? Does it make you antsy and uncomfortable, or do you find a sense of peace in it? Your answer might tell you a lot.